Welcome to the Amrisc podcast. Please join us as we go beyond underwriting to learn more about the human side of insurance.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Amrisc podcast, where we dive into the world of property risk, relationships, and resilience. I'm your host, Carrie Dixon, along with Connor Fleury, and today we're celebrating a major milestone, 25 years of excellence at Amrisc, and our first episode here in the Atlanta office. We are joined by someone who's been in the trenches with us for years, David Palmer from Jencap, and our very own Chief Marketing Officer, John Allen. Welcome, and thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here.
Thank you. My apologies. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to get started with you, John. Can you walk us through how Amrisc got started 25 years ago?
Yes, Amrisc got started within CRC. It was a Lloyd's line slip put together by Skip Cooper, and Dan Peed was soon hired after that, and it has evolved out of that to where BB&T has purchased it, and Amrisc has grown from that initial binding authority line slip to, the $2.5 billion we are today.
That's awesome.
What were some of the early wins and some of the growing pains?
I think the early wins was having capacity within wholesaler. It was easier to feed the accounts. The growing pains was having capacity inside a wholesaler, and it was keeping it profitable, and Dan did a tremendous job making sure that was the case.
David, when did you start working with Amrisc, and what stood out?
I started working with Amrisc in 2011, and what stood out was the capacity that Amrisc could afford and the willingness to assume risk in a market where a lot of people were fleeing from it. That, to me, has always been the hallmark of Amrisc, that they are in the business to take risks that other people don't want, and you guys have never shied away from it.
For the most part.
Yeah, you've done everything you can to shy away from that and stay engaged. I always found that to be the hallmark, and what I noticed when I first was able to join. Working with Amrisc, they had the hit ratio, and it was I was a very small shop when I was appointed, and I was very grateful just to get the appointment. So I focused on that hit ratio like you wouldn't believe, and I think at the time, we had one of the highest hit ratios, but we didn't have the volume that other people did, but we abided by the point system, and it suited us very well.
Yes. And how has this partnership evolved over time?
Well, it's been fantastic. Initially, it was really just me working with Amrisc and, bring on board other staff who developed relationships themselves and then grow as a company. At the time, I was part of Genesee. That's the company that I started, and then we have since sold to Jencap. So I've been able to bring that relationship forward to another company, and we've continued to grow consistently through the years with your support.
We appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Most definitely. John, do you have anything you want to add to how it evolved on our side?
With David?
Yeah, David, Jencap, everything.
Hornsby and David knew each other pretty specifically. Yeah. We had lunch back in 2011, and it was just like hit the ground running. David was very good at knowing what we wanted and how we wanted it delivered. It's definitely added to your success.
And I was always, shout out to Scott Hornsby. I'm always grateful for him helping out there.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Well, now we're going to define excellence, and we'll start with John. How does Amrisc define excellence in underwriting and broker relationships?
I think Amrisc defines excellence in their block and tackling underwriting firm I've ever been involved with. Taking care of business in a correct and high road manner has been to our success. It's really helped our success. The broker relationships are what we are. I mean, insurance is all about relationships and who you do business with, and trying to really be that partnership and build that prideful partnership relationship is what we've always focused on. But actually lately, my new role is to build deeper relationships and have that back and forth. We want to be there when they need us, and we also want them to protect us when we do stuff.
Gotcha. And just to elaborate a little bit on what's the kind of the culture or principles that drive that kind of standard you're looking for?
I think it's a level of humbleness from the underwriting firm, and also interjecting empathy in both sides. You want the underwriters to understand what the producers are going through and their stress, but you also want the producers to understand what the stresses of the underwriters are going through. So building that bridge to make it, I understand what you're going through, instead of not having a closed off relationship. I think COVID really kind of hit our business, meaning it's more electronic, it's more email communication. And now, since we're out of that, we need to build back the prideful relationships that make us win.
Yeah, putting faces to names and names to faces.
And I'll say, during the hard market, you really stressed, to at least the Chrono side, about keeping those connections with the agents, knowing that they were going to be going through something difficult, having to explain to the insured the hard market and things aren't going to be looking too good, or like what they did last year. But to make sure that we kept in communication with them, kept connected to them, and tried to help them as best we could.
Right. What goes up will come down, and you got to be very aware of that in this insurance industry.
So, David, how does working with an excellent underwriting team look like in your practice on your side of things?
It kind of goes back to when we were talking about the beginning and joining Amrisc. Responsiveness is huge. As I've seen the company evolve, there were times where, the flow of business, you were challenged with that. There's no doubt been a tremendous effort made through the years to address that, to be able to stay on top of the business coming in. The first thing is just being able to get to the business, to review it, and talk about it. The responsiveness I've received and seen has just continued to improve. I haven't seen it drop off with this market where there's so much coming in, it would be easy to make an excuse. I haven't seen that. Kudos to you guys. A good underwriter is someone that's willing to consider your pitch, even though they may not agree with it, and do some research and get back to you. A good underwriter will tell you no. Some of the best underwriters I've had, I don't think, if I'm going to rank good underwriters, that they all give me what I want all the time. It's someone that can put the company's best interest out there and be willing to tell a broker, hey, sorry for this, but for this reason we can't do it. It has to have some logical sense behind it. I think the secret sauce is the fact that I've met so many new underwriters. I don't have an individual underwriter that then becomes like this little silo and we almost have our own business within a business. There's so much consistency because you never know who you're going to be working with. I have relations with a lot of different people within Amrisc. A lot of people probably would prefer the concept that you align with one underwriter. I kind of like it, that you can work with different people because you know more people within the company. The big thing is when you go to the next level of management, there's not a lot of people rotating in and out. It is a consistent organization. The number of people with 15 and 20 years with the company is something you guys should be very proud about. That backs up the underwriters you might meet for the first time and don't have that relationship. You know that behind them are people you can reach out to if there's an issue.
When you came into the office, several underwriters here know who you are. One has never worked with you, but he's heard great things about you and introduced himself. People know you and your business, and that's a connection. An excellent piece to work with.
It's nice.
Well, I'm assuming your answer for the last question is basically the same answer for how does Amrisc rise above the rest in your experience?
Yeah.
The responsiveness, having good
insight into the business.
Quality people.
Yeah.
And not resting on your laurels. You mentioned $2.5 billion and staffing to get there, right? There were a lot of times during the last few years where if you guys had lost sight of the bringing on new talent, it might be tougher to get there. Or people might complain a little more about it. I don't hear back from anybody. But the responsiveness is fantastic. So that to me, it all starts there. You got to have someone willing to at least talk to you on the other side.
It might not be the response you want, but like you
Correct.
said, then you move on. Go find somebody else to
Absolutely.
take it to. Yep. Can you both share a standout story or moment where this partnership made a huge difference?
As an underwriter at a prior company, I made a typo, which was a very costly typo. The wholesaler, who was a dear friend of mine, called me up and says, hey, you need to rescind this. That is having a relationship where you have someone have your back. They had my back. I was also, as a wholesaler, went on a call with an agent in a boardroom, and he, during the presentation, mentioned that this coverage has flood and earthquake. And I quietly circled X flood and quake on the authorization and slid it in front of him and allowed him to kind of backtrack on that statement, which is protecting each other on either side. And that's the relationships you want.
Cool.
David, how does trust factor into long-term success?
Well, trust is really what we sell in a way. I know it's a legal document that we're selling, but if you don't have trust, it's hard for us to see what goes into making an insurance policy. Unlike holding a pair of glasses, we can break everything down and see the cost of it. Insurance policy, so much of it's relational and trusting who you're dealing with, that they'll back you up in a situation. I've had Amrisc back me up on claims when things could have been wonky, payments where we're able to talk things through. Going back in time all the way to Amber Martindale, she helped me put one of the bigger accounts I have with you guys on the books, and was very creative in how she did it. And, it was multi-location, so with the inspections, you guys are a little tough to deal with on that. It can add some premium to it, okay?
Just
and
a
I
little,
guess, add to the, yeah. And she got creative with how we handled that. And it was something that we could talk to the insured about. And the good thing was we said over 3 years, this is how we're going to do the inspections. It also showed the insured, hey, they're making a commitment for a long time. So that account's run through, I think, Amber, and then when she left, I think Candace was on at one point, Stacy Overcast, and now I get to work with Irene Romano. It's quality people that have handled this account for me the whole time. I can trust that, even though when it went from Amber to Candace, I'd never really worked with Candace much, but at the time, I know the next person coming in is going to be quality. When it handed over to Stacy Overcast, she was great, and now Irene's doing a great job.
Perfect. So, moving on a little bit, John, how is Amrisc continuing to innovate in its 25th year?
It's a continuation of the data we have, and the data we were able to collect, and our investment into our IT and the computer side. That's continuously evolving. It's also recently the focus we're putting on the relationships and getting hopefully to a point where we can award the ones we want to and generate profitable business. That's our innovation continuously, it's data.
David, what's the biggest opportunity or challenge ahead in property risk, and how is Amrisc well positioned?
Well, obviously the ability to provide great results for your carrier capacity is huge. But that's more of a maintenance issue. Attracting and retaining good talent, that's a huge issue. I would say the whole industry is going to face integrating AI into the product and delivery system. How is that going to look? I have no idea. So I can't answer how Amrisc is well positioned on it. I'm new to a lot of this and trying to understand how is it going to work out. But I know whoever does figure it out best is going to be well positioned. So on all sides, whether it's the wholesale side, the carrier side, has to be integrated as a tool in a way to benefit us. I don't see it replacing as much as a tool to make it a better product.
Gotcha.
Amrisc Online does a lot of automation.
It is. Amrisc Online is an online system that funnels through logic whether or not it's acceptable risk to underwrite or not. So what David said is key. The wave of the future is coming, and it's coming fast. The AI involvement, which is basically a logic statement, will get more and more cooked into our decisions and what we do. But what we have to always remember is we are a people business.
We are going to do a rapid fire round. And John, you are smiling. I don't know if you're excited or nervous, but are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is one word that describes Amrisc?
Data.
Oh, would you like to elaborate?
Just we have more data than any company I've ever worked for.
This is true. We do. I will attest to that. How about you, David?
Juggernaut. Like that.
How long did it take you to think of that word?
A little bit.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
No, I mean, 2.5 billion. It's an enterprise that just keeps rolling, keeps getting better, and continues to take risk and doesn't rest on its laurels. And just, the hard market aside, where you had to make some adjustments, it's just continuing. A force to be reckoned with. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's true.
Yeah. Come at us, right? Mm-hmm. All right. What is something most people don't know about this industry?
It's funny you ask that. You go to a cocktail party, somebody like that, and they go, "You're in insurance." Someone goes, "I've got this dental insurance I need to talk to you about." But it is, when you get down to what people don't know about the insurance industry, is how many multiple layers there are to it. You write $1 of premium, but that dollar might be cut up 95 different ways going upwards. Not only does it go to the MGA, it goes to the carriers, and the carriers go to the reinsurers. The reinsurers go to the retro insurers, and the retro insurers go to institutional investing. So there's 50 companies, and I always thought, I like explaining that to people.
When you say it like that, it's mind-boggling.
Yep.
$1. And you, David?
I would say the opportunity for those on the outside who don't understand the insurance world and specifically the E&S space, similar to what John said, the amount of opportunities for different skill sets to be successful within the insurance field. It's not just, well, I got a great, someone has a great personality can sell, or, wow, they're really smart, they can do actuary and all that. There's so many different skill sets in between that, I've always said, if you keep your nose clean, work hard, keep the relationship solid, you can succeed in this industry. And I think so many people outside it don't really understand the ability to make a career out of it and not just a job.
Yeah, and it can be intimidating from the outside. And I had no idea what a TIV was. I had no idea what ENS was, and it was intimidating. But 4 years later, I love it. This is, it's fascinating. You learn something new every day. We have fantastic leaders like John who help mold our future employees. So, thank you, John.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I came in straight out of college. I didn't know my banking and finance degree was going to land me in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am. Didn't know anything about SOV, TIV, anything like that. And now I dream about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, I guess I should say nightmares.
I can see how that could happen. Yeah, whoever's willing to take the initiative and work hard can succeed in this industry. I really feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Where or what is your favorite local spot to recommend to those coming into Atlanta? David, you go first.
I'll go first. Well, I'm going to do something a little different just because of the time of year. So if they're coming in winter, this might not work. But there's a place called Gibbs Gardens in Ball Ground. That's just a really cool place. And I'm just trying to find something unique that you can go, and the flowers and everything's beautiful. And right now it's just peak time to be there. So check that place out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ball Ground. Never knew.
Yeah.
That's just up the road from here.
That's an incredible place. I'm going to go, a unique experience in Atlanta would be Stone Mountain. I think if someone was coming here, go if you want to take your family up and hike to the top of it. It's a pretty
Bring
pretty
shoes.
unique.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, I guess I might have to check both of those places out next time I come. Well, 25 years in, and the heart of Amrisc is still beating strong, thanks to incredible partners, a passionate team, and a shared pursuit of excellence. Thank you, David and John, for joining us today. Cheers to the next 25.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hope I'm retired by the next 25.